En esta edición de la FIL Monterrey tuvimos la oportunidad de entrevistar a Sasha Peyton Smith, quien es la autora de fantasía para jóvenes bestseller del New York Times, con libros como la duología The Witch Haven. Su más reciente novela es El Pacto de la Rosa o The Rose Bargain, el inicio de una nueva duología, pero déjenme les cuento de qué trata. Ambientada en una Inglaterra de realidad alterna, todos los ciudadanos cuentan con la posibilidad de hacer un trato con su reina. Se espera que los jóvenes de la alta sociedad negocien para obtener cualidades que les permitan conseguir mejores pretendientes. Sin embargo, la primera temporada de Ivy Benton llega con un giro inesperado. Una competencia para ganar la mano en matrimonio del hijo de la reina Hada, el príncipe Bram. Un premio que podría salvar de la ruina a la familia de Ivy y liberar a su hermana del trato que la destruyó. Pero todo trato de la reina tiene una consecuencia. En medio de bailes en salones lujosos, rivalidades feroces y una alianza peligrosa con el atractivo hermano de Bram, el príncipe Emmet, Ivy descubre que en el centro de esta competencia se esconde un plan oscuro que podría acabar con Inglaterra y con su propio corazón. Recuerden que ya pueden conseguir su copia de El Pacto de la Rosa con la editorial Urano. El libro es ampliamente recomendado por nosotras, un romantasy que tiene vibras de la selección y de El Príncipe Cruel. Sin más, aquí les dejamos la entrevista con Sasha, con quien después fangirleamos un poco de K-pop y de The Bachelor, para que puedan conocer del libro de quién mejor que de la misma autora. Esperamos les guste. Sasha, we're very happy to have you here in our podcast, which is called A Todos los Libros, which in English it would be like To All the Books, which is like a nod to Jenny Han's books. Well, I loved your book. Let me just tell you that. I think you mixed all of my like niche interests in one.
Oh, thank you.
And I remember first hearing about your book like some months ago with a book trailer.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like not a lost art, but maybe it's not as frequent as it was before, but it's kind of getting like maybe like a mainstream media attention again with R.F. Kuang's Catavasis trailer.
Yes.
How do you feel about seeing your book in that art form?
Yeah, the book trailer was created by my U.S. publisher, HarperCollins, and they did an incredible job. I agree with you. I think it was such a big thing in the early 2000s. And with TikTok and Instagram and people creating their own content, it's just rare that publishers invest money into creating something like that. And so I was so shocked when I got the email saying it was happening because it made me so excited. And it was so cool because I got like to cast. So they sent me options of people, and I got to send descriptions of clothing and their faces. And I got to pick like the final people that were going to be in the book trailer, and they sent me pictures from the day they were filming. I wish I could have been there in New York City when they were filming. But HarperCollins does do such incredible book trailers. They've done a couple great ones for Ava Reed and Shelby Mahurin. So keep an eye out on the Harper social channels because they're kind of killing it.
I love it. So it's kind of like if you were to turn into a television show or something like that would be your first version.
Exactly. Yes.
Well, I was telling you, like, you mixed some of my niche interests. Like, you mixed the War of the Roses at the beginning, and then fairies, which you call the others, and also, like, The Bachelor, which I am a proud member of Bachelor Nation.
Me too.
We love to see it and gossip about it and everything.
Yep.
So how do you, like, mix all of these elements and make them basically a story? Where did the inspiration for this came from? And maybe you can give like a little bit description about your book.
Yeah, we'll put it here. So I've described The Rose Bargain as the most fun, most self-indulgent book I could possibly think of. So I'm with you. I just put everything that I loved into it. You know, The Bachelor and early 2000s YA novels and love triangles and Just One Bed and romance novels. And it was really like an exercise in, you know, not denying myself anything. Like if I thought something was fun, I threw it into this book. Because this book was born out of a period of like real darkness in my life, I was really kind of depressed and I was facing a big career failure when I wrote The Rose Bargain. And I thought that there was a real chance that people might not ever read anything from me ever again. And so I thought, if only one person is going to read this book, or if it's only going to be me and my sister or whoever read this book, why don't I just make it the most fun, most silly, most specifically my interest book in the world?
I love that. So do you have maybe like, would that be maybe your advice to new writers to trust your instincts?
For sure. Yeah. And you are your first audience. So if you're not having fun writing the book, then people aren't going to have fun reading the book. And I think people can tell. I think people can tell when you're having fun. So yeah, it's cliche advice, write what you love and write what you know, but I have found it to be true.
Well, I love it. So yeah, you have a faithful audience member for the sequel. We're ready. The lore in your book is about fairies,
Yes.
but kind of each author takes their own take on it. So what do you think? Do you have like a guidebook, maybe an ancient fairy book that you took inspiration from? Or how did you decide what were going to be the rules for your world, basically?
Yeah. So I'm American, but my mother's family is English. And so I grew up with a lot of English fairy mythology in which fairies are, creepy and inhuman and not to be trusted. You're not supposed to step in a ring of toadstools. If anybody comes to you with a deal that seems too good to be true, you do not take it. And so I pulled a lot from the kind of medieval English and Scottish fairy mythology. I was most interested in the element of a fairy bargain. And so I used a very classic, you give something, you get something. And I wanted them to be immortal and not quite human. I thought a lot about how immortality would affect the immortal characters in this book. And I think that it would make them very cruel and bored. And that was an interesting place to begin to build a character from.
Yeah, and I think that kind of take is more something we're seeing more of with Holly Black, and now Cassandra. She's taking her take on their books towards there. So yeah, I loved seeing them here, and yeah, it was great. And also like kind of like a twist at the end about the whole lion thing. I was very gagged by that. Also, you have a lot of interesting dynamics in your books within the characters. There is a kind of, the whole book starts with Ivy being worried about her sister, and this whole shift of in their dynamic theories, kind of like Lydia kind of gives her responsibilities, were her responsibilities to Ivy, and she kind of resents that. Yeah. And also we have the dynamic between Emmett and Bram. How do you create that? What was your inspiration for writing those dynamics?
Yeah, I mean, this is a book about, a love triangle and princes and a marriage competition. But at the heart of this book, it's a story about sisters. I knew, really before I knew anything about this book, I wanted to write a book about sisters. I have two sisters, and there's no relationship like it. I love my sisters so much. I would kill for them. I would die for them. But I also sometimes want to kill them. There is no relationship that is as all-encompassing and infuriating as sibling relationships. And Ivy would do anything for Lydia and anything to save Lydia, but she resents that she has to. One of my favorite lines in the book is Ivy saying, you were perfect and you ruined everything. And Lydia says, I was perfect so that you got to be everything else. You got to be funny and exciting and explore the world because I was too busy holding everything down. And I think that older sisters and little sisters can relate to that dynamic of I'm trying to protect you and I don't want to be protected, and how frustrating that is for everybody involved. And I've really enjoyed exploring their relationship even more in book 2. We get more of them on page and we get more depth, and the relationship between the brothers only gets more complicated. But I love sibling relationships.
You're talking to an only child, so everything I am learning through you.
I'm maybe not the best example.
No, I trust you. But my learning about maybe those kind of dynamics, it's through my friends. Yeah. And you explore this through the Six, which I didn't know if with you mixing British history was maybe like a nod towards Henry VIII. Okay, I thought it was. But within the dynamic within the Six, you explore friendship, a queer relationship. Yeah. You also explore what were the high expectations for women at that time, but also you pull from the reality that we are now facing. So, and it would be the perfect setup for rivalries. However, you didn't take it there. You turned it in its head a little bit. So what made you decide to do that instead of painting the classic pitting women against each other in that kind of way specifically?
Absolutely, yeah. So there's 6 girls competing to marry Prince Bram. And I knew I wanted them each to have very distinct reasons for entering this competition. So the deal with this competition is you may enter, but if you are not chosen, you will never marry another. And in this, kind of proto-Victorian world, if they don't get married, their entire future is up in the air. It's a very big risk for these girls. And so we have Ivy, who wants to save her sister. We have Greer, who wants to, impress her mother. We have Olive, who's a true romantic and is also a little afraid of the idea of marriage. She says being a princess seems easier to swallow than being a wife. And we have Marion, who hears, oh, you'll never get to marry a man. And she goes, oh, too bad. oh, really? Yeah, tragic. Oh, no. And enters it as really a way out of this future that she saw as a death sentence, that she could see a world in which she could be herself, and have the kind of love with another woman that she wants. We have Faith, who's been kind of railroaded into this competition by Emmett and finds a love story of her own. And really, I thought it would be easy to make them rivals, but that's not my experience with other women. I don't think there's a world in which you put these 6 girls in a house. They have to live together. They have to go through this competition. Only they understand what they're going through. And they don't end up supporting each other and being friends. They're not always nice to each other. And it's not always, they're not always kind and loving and, angelic. But in my experience, women support other women and they uplift other women. And the only way you survive difficult situations is through female friendship. So to me, it was the only way I saw writing this book because it was the most realistic. And when I was a teenager, the real emotional intimacy in my life was with my female friends. So it's always important to me to write characters who have other girlfriends around them.
I love that. And also it kind of reminds me a lot what you were saying about with that quote from Dolly Alderton, like everything I learned about love.
Yes.
Yeah, it has been through my friendship with women.
Exactly. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
So please protect my ships in the sequel. I know you cannot promise that, but we end in a crazy cliffhanger. Yes, I will let you be sorry because it was insane. What are the plans for the sequel? When is it releasing? I need it now. So
well, the good news is the sequel is done. Okay. I am completely finished with it. Final done. Okay. Like off my desk. I'm not allowed. Yes, I am not allowed to touch it. And it is coming. It's called The Thorn Queen, and it is coming out in April of 2026 in both English and Spanish simultaneously, which is really nice. And my problem is, I will tell anybody anything they want to know. I'm like, you want to know who lives, you want to know who dies, you want to know who ends up together. Like, I'm not the person you want to ask if you don't want spoilers. I'm awful. Like, I'll reveal anything.
I know. Thank you very much for your time. We are very looking forward to the sequel. And any other books? Do you have any other plans for books right now? Or is this like the one that you want done right now?
Yeah, so it's funny. I'm on the last day of a 13-day Latin American tour. So I started in Argentina and Chile, and I've done Mexico City and Monterrey. And the first day we landed in Argentina, I got a new book deal. So I can say that there are 2 more YA romantasies coming.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. The first one is a standalone, and I don't think there's anything else I can say about it. Okay. I will say the second book, The Thorn Queen, wraps up the story. It is, it's completely done. Okay. I would do a spinoff in the world of the Roseburg, and I think there's a lot of characters that I have more to say about. No immediate plans. It's not, I'm not like hinting at something that's been signed.
Okay.
But I am not closed to entering this world again.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know you say you live like in 100-year-old mansion.
I do.
And
not a mansion.
well, a house. I'm sorry. I say like 100-year-old, and I was reading about ghosts, so that's where my head goes.
Haunted mansion.
In a haunted, yeah.
I wish it was a mansion.
Maybe later.
Yeah. We'll see how these books do.
If you met the ghosts from your house, do you think you would write a book about them?
So it's so funny. I've done witches. I've done fairies. Yeah. Maybe I should do ghosts. So I bought this 100-year-old house. It was built in 1911, and that's about as old as houses get in my town. Mm-hmm. And after we signed the paperwork, the owner that we bought the house from emailed me and went, "Oh, by the way, there's 2 ghosts." And I was like, "Oh, would have been helpful to know." Oh, yes. So she said, downstairs there's a woman who knocks the fridge magnets off the fridge, and upstairs there's a man who she sees out of the corner of her eye Fridge magnets I'm fine with. I don't want to see a man out of the corner of my eye. So creepy. The good news is we've lived there now for a year, and I haven't seen anything. So the neighborhood theory is that the ghosts followed the original owner, that they went with her.
So they were the haunted ones.
I think she was haunted, or I'm just not sensitive to energy. Maybe I'm very closed off.
Maybe better. Maybe better.
Oh, I prefer it.
Yeah, I would too.
Yes, but still have not seen the ghosts that allegedly live inside my house.
No, maybe it was like a tricky date for you to come since it paired with the horror fest here.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, ghosts everywhere.
We were seeing a lot.
Yeah.
But thank you very much. You were lovely. Your panel was incredible.
Aww.
And please pick up the Rose Bargain or El Pacto de la Rosa de Urano. Thank you very much, Sasha, for your time.